Hi, YouTube. I hope you're doing good. I'm doing pretty darn good. I just got through making some strawberry preserves to go on some fresh bread that I have rising for later. So, yeah, it's gonna be great. I made a big batch. I shared the recipe. It's so easy. I make it other ways too, and I've made it with pectin but this is just three ingredients. It's just strawberries, sugar, and strawberry jello or whatever flavor you want to use, but it takes about 5 or 10 minutes to throw it together, and you can freeze it or you can can it or just eat it. And Doug's like addicted to it, so it probably will. He's like, he makes some toast. He said he put it like on a um, plate or whatever and then just use like the whole thing. And I said, well, I just want a little bit. But anyway, I did share it around. So it's like I say, it's in my community. It's so easy. It's so good. I mean, you know what's in it. It's pretty, yeah, there's some artificial flavor, but if you check what's on and in the jars of the stuff that you buy, it cuts down on the nonsense, and you know it's more like a real food. And you can use unflavored pectin. It's like Jello, same thing. But I don't know. This I've never failed. It always turns out. You can make it with rhubarb too. You can make it with any kind of berries. So easy, just simple. So you can either slice up your berries or buy them sliced, and you can you just it's so easy. Use a potato masher. That's what I last time I sliced them. This time I mashed them because I just wanted to do it quick. And I did. So it's done and it's in there for later. So, and like I say, you can put it in the freezer. That's what's so nice about it. There is you can cut the recipe in half and use a small box of Jello and half of the amount of sugar that I have is. So it's 2 pounds of strawberries, 3 cups of sugar. I usually use about 2.5, but depending on how sweet your berries are or how sweet you like your like preserves, or treats. If you like stuff super sweet, you'll probably want to do the full 3 cups, but I cut it back. I've tried 2 cups, and it's a little bit too tart to be considered like a preserve. So um, experimenting. I've made this stuff since I was a little kid, and I just started doing it again lately because Doug has been really into just eating a lot of eggs. And it's quick. He just makes a quick breakfast for supper, and that's been his favorite thing lately to eat. So, yeah. So, anyway, the recipe is over in my community, and it's so easy. You really will not regret making it. I don't think you will. But if you ever go to buy like a strawberry preserve or jam, a jam is considered clear. It doesn't have any chunks in it or jelly. And the jelly is, they strain it through a cheesecloth or a sieve, and it takes all the chunks or seeds or whatever out of there. And that the difference from a preserve is a preserve will have the chunks of the berries in there, so you can make them as big or little as you want to make them. And you could strain it through a sieve if you don't like any chunks at all of anything, and then it would become a jelly or a jam. Um, that's the difference in them. So super, super easy. Takes about 10 minutes tops, you know. So, yeah. Anyway, so that's what I did with my morning besides getting my exercises done and shared it, like I say, all over the place. I think Doug even shared that recipe in other countries, and I did on here, on my Facebook Messenger, sent it to my granddaughter and her mom. Her mom might not be feeling good enough. She's an excellent cook, but my oldest granddaughter loves to cook and bake like I do. So, or I used to. I don't as much as I used to. I used to just like who do you know that will bake chocolate chip cookies like 7 dozen of them things or something and not even eat one, you know? That would be me. I used to be like that all the time. I just cook and bake for everybody, especially this time of year. I made thousands, tens of thousands of cookies in my life for Christmas. And yeah, lots of baking in a bakeries too where I worked. But yeah, so this stuff would be excellent if you ever made like Danish or, you know, that type of thing. Jelly rolls, Bismarcks. I've never made Bismarcks, but I have made, in the bakery I have, but not at home. I've never made homemade Bismarcks. I made donuts and Danish and, you know, that type of thing. So, yeah. So I'm in better spirits today. I've been listening to things that are more encouraging and trying not to get in a horrible frame of mind when I hear people in their nonsense. And, it's just like when you see a rabbi put out something like, when war is a peaceful thing, or a stupid, in fact, I'm gonna go look up the title of this thing. Give me a moment here. I just, sometimes I just can't take it, you know? These people in there, it's never ending. They never stop. They never, it just, all you got to do is stop it. Update from the spiritual war front. Okay, that wasn't it, but it's the same person. Let me give you an update too. You don't have peace with war. But I know what he means. It's like when war is peace. Stop it. Just stop it. Just, no, even the title of it. And it's like, how old are you? I think he's like about 60, you know, might be 50ish, somewhere in between 50. Hello, didn't your mommy tell you that you're not supposed to fight? Didn't she? Did, you know, whatever. If people keep believing that war is a good thing for any reason, it's never going to end on this planet. And the ones of us that do not believe in it, and you could say, well, would you defend yourself? Well, of course I would now. But I'm going to tell you something. There's times that I have taken um, beatings and did not defend myself. And this is, or I walk away. If I can walk away, I'm going to walk away, you know. And that is the best advice I could give anybody. Anytime you can avoid a conflict, do it. Why engage if you don't have to, you know? And I'm sure there's other ways to go about this without wiping out large swaths of countries. Well, too, a lot of even the stuff that goes on in my country, like a bridge will collapse or buildings or whatever that they have insurance on and they're going to rebuild anyway. These are things that have gone on for a very long time. I believe just like with, what do you call them? Oh, just a minute, I'll get it. Um, Antifa, destroying shops and that type of thing. Them shop owners didn't care. They're masonically connected. Anytime you have people that are in the Chamber of Commerce and they have businesses within that city, they're insured and they're covered and they do not care. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to rebuild or they're going to sell their property, and that's what it's all about anyway. Build back better. Yeah, whatever. So, yeah. I watched Hamish from High Frequency Tribe was out feeding. He's got Highlander Scottish cattle. They're stocky little things with big horns, but they're very muscular and very strong. They're shorter, but my neighbor raises them, and they've got double muscles, and that's what makes them more desirable um, for like steaks or whatever, because it's like the flavor, of it, and the size of the animal. They're strong though. I mean, I've worked with some huge. I mean, the biggest Hereford calves and cows and bulls that you ever saw in your life. One's name was Tiny. He was the largest bovine on the planet at the time. That this thing was huge, so big. He would eat 5 gallons of grain at a time in the morning and at night, plus his hay. He was so big. Just his back came up to my shoulders. His head, I can't fit how big his head, just no horns, I mean, he had horns, but with, I can't fit it on the screen here, how big that dude's head was. It was like massive. Then I worked with some other cattle called Charlet, and they're very huge. And I've been around, well, I raised Holsteins and Herefords myself. Um, but I've fed thousands of cattle working on ranches and that. And Hamish was talking about, when you have animals, you can't just get up and go or whatever, rain or shine. You have to be out there feeding the animals. And it doesn't matter if it's 50 below, you better bundle up, and them animals need to get fed twice a day. And then if, like, on a dairy farm or I had a cow, you got to get up in the morning and in the evening you have to milk your cow, you have to feed them, and, you know, taking care. But there is a cheater way to do on that. You can supplement the baby's milk with, um, well, you buy powdered milk for them. It's calf's milk. And you can feed the baby once a day and milk the mommy once a day and then put the baby with the mommy. And so there's less stress on the mom by doing it that way. And if you only have, like, there was only 2 people, my ex and I, Um, we did not need 4 or 5 gallons of milk twice a day. I did give a lot to the neighbors, and I made butter and whatever, that type of stuff. But yeah, when you got animals, you know, if you like a day off, you'll never have one. So, you know, animals, they're pretty and it's nice. Well, you see them and people have got them, and it's like, gee, I'd like to have a horse, or gee, I'd like to have chickens, or I'd like to have a calf to raise, or whatever. Are you sure about that? And then talk about the expense, and then talk if one gets sick, what are you going to do? Do you know how to take care of it? Do you know the different diseases that every animal gets, or anything about animal husbandry? Most likely not. So if you didn't grow up knowing that or studying it, um, it's probably too late. Or you're going to learn the hard way. Like if you're a half a decade old and you have animals and you've never taken care of them type of animals before, you will learn the hard way. And there, it's not like taking care of a chicken. A calf or a cow is a whole nother story. Well, it's not like feeding your dog or your cat. You can put their food out typically and not have to worry too much about them. When you're dealing with something that's like 1,000 pounds, and the fencing and everything, and they do stupid shit, and you have to help them. You have to take care of them. So it's not just you never have a day off. So you imagine 20 years. Say if your horse lives, oh, mine lived over 20 years. So that's like 2 decades of your life. You never have a day off. You're up in the morning and you're feeding your animal before you take care of yourself. Or you get up really early and take care of yourself and then go out. And then you do it again in the evening, you know. So, yeah, it's not like taking care of a kitty, you know. And it's hard work, it's laborious. I mean, if you've ever used a pitchfork or thrown bales or baled hay or all of it, um, um, enjoy the job you have if you get the weekends off, because some of us had decades of never having a day off, you know. And yeah, it was by choice, but I'm just saying, you know, that's the way it is. Farmer or a ranch or whatever, you know, it's hard work. That's how I really do have big respect for farmers and ranchers. And one of my first jobs when I was 15, I packed carrots. And a lot of people think, well, gee, there's a bunch of carrots and they're cheap, and but you don't think, geez, um, and I didn't know I had arthritis, but my hands would get so sore packing those carrots, and they were cold, they were wet coming out of the ground, you know, and packing them things, and geez. So I have big, big respect for all the people that produce food for the rest of the world, you know, big respect, because I've done it. And I've had my own gardens, you know, and weeding and watering and out in the hot sun and out there before the sun gets hot. And then you got to deal with the bugs, and I mean, on you and on your plants. So, yeah, huge respect for all the people that produce food for others or make their own world go around like that. Huge, huge respect. So, and I know Hamish and his wife have their own strawberries. Not this time of year, but in the spring, probably, well, way sooner than we do in Minnesota because they live in California. But so I dropped that recipe on their page for them, because so easy, kids can do it, as long as all the sugar's melted in there, then it's going to turn out so easy. Yeah. So yeah, it's been a pretty good day. But isn't that radical how somebody can be so naive to write something that when war is peace? Okay. So if I don't like you, if I hold my fist up to you, that's gonna. Are you gonna shut up with your stupid shit if I come there and put my fist up there? It's like I doubt it. That might cause a little bit of animosity. It's all a game with these governments. That's all they're doing. They're playing their war games like they always have. Nothing new. Never has been. I'm hoping it will be. I'm hoping there'll be more people like, we don't believe in this. We don't want to support it. I don't understand where your brain is at and what's lacking in your heart that you could even write something like that and believe in it wholeheartedly and say you're a man of God. It's like the two things do not go together. They don't. I just gave you that example. That is not going to instill a peaceful feeling in you. Somebody did that to me. Well, they have, but I mean, that's not going to make me feel peaceful, you know? That's ludicrous. You're crazy. It's insane. It's evil. Let's not just talk about how weird it really is. So what do we do? Raise our children like, okay, Luke and John, listen, the next time this bully tries to bully you, just slap him upside his head and tell him you want peace and that's the way you're going to obtain it. Is that the way we raise our children? It is the same difference. Reminds me, this was the integrity of my child when he was a little boy. I mean, tiny. Must have been about a year old, this kid, about 5 or so, pushed his back right into the corner of a dresser. He was like, and I thought, what's he gonna do? And I watched him for a second. He put his arms out and he walked up to that kid and hugged him. That's how you stop a war. That's what used to be in my children, the natural instinct of peace, you know? So, yeah, people do change. Just a second. What's up? Yeah, I noticed the clouds came out. I am making a I am making a video. Do you have a moment? Do you have a minute? I I am making a video. Will you say hi? And then I was wondering if you could take a second and tell them your poem about counts.
About what?
Counts.
Count.
Counts. Or the knights around the round table.
No, I'm burning up daylight. I gotta get my
Oh,
frame cut off.
okay.
I only got.
Okay.
I'm not doing it. It's cold. I gotta.
Another
I
time he
gotta
will.
warm up. I have a cup of coffee another time.
Yeah.
Hello, YouTube. Goodbye. Sorry.
Yeah. He's got this one that my oldest son memorized when he was 12. And um, in fact, maybe I can find it. Hang on. I'll talk to you and I'll pull up I might be able to find it online. It's different. Not something I would want um, all kids to memorize, but I memorized one misty, moisty morning, when cloudy was the weather, I chanced to meet an old man, clothed all in leather. He began to smile at me, and I began to grin. How do you do? And how do you do? And how do you do again? Let me see if I can find this. It is funny though, and it would go along with what's going on. Let me see. No counts is counts nights around the round table. Let's see if this poem. I don't know what it's called. I bet I find it though. Everything's out here on the internet, isn't it? Seems. The Knights of the King's Castration Ballad of Daniel the King. Here we go. I think this is it. Yes, this is it's terrible. I hope I can get through it without embarrassing myself. Okay, let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger so I don't have to strain my eyes. It's kind of tiny. Okay. It's called The Night of the King's Castration. This do have confrontation of 100-year-old tale by J. Mark Sugars and Frank. 'Twas the night of the king's castration. The last of the royal balls was coming off. All the counts, discounts, and no counts were sitting around the throne room, slinging camel shit, for in those days bullshit was yet unknown. A noise was heard in the courtyard, and in came Daniel on his gallant white steed, with his balls slung over his shoulders. What ho! Cried the king. Asshole, replied Daniel, thus scorning the early point for the common people. Okay. A noise, oh wait, yeah, I just read that. As this At this the queen dashed madly through the court with her drawers half mass and her ass shining like looking glass in the moonlight. Hilarious now, the king offered Daniel the post of second in command. But what of the queen? Asked Daniel. Oh, F the queen, replied the king, and 5 or 50,000 loyal countries were killed in the rush, for in those days the king word was law, and the king ruled with an iron hand. Upon seeing such mass slaughter, the king, exasperated, cried, "Oh shit," and 50,000 remaining loyal countries dropped their drawers and squatted on their haunches and strained and grunted in unison, for in those days the king's word was law, and the king ruled with an iron hand. "Stop," cried the queen, thinking of the royal carpet. The king called, "Halt," and 49,999 loyal buttholes snapped shut with a staterly click, and 49,999 glistening turds were nipped gently, streaming in the morning air, all save for Daniel, who proceeded to lay 2 cubits wide by 1 cubit high by 3 cubits long. The king was sore affronted and ordered Daniel thrown into the lion's den for 3 days and 3 nights, for in those days the king's word was law, and the king ruled with an iron hand. And here was Daniel in the midst of the roaring, snarling beasts, but of course you could easily recognize Daniel by the large green parasol that he always carried. On the first day the queen came to Daniel and Daniel said, "O queen, I am in need of some pills." And the queen asked, "What manner of pills?" And Daniel replied, "Nip pills." And the queen departed. Again on the third day, the king came on to Daniel, but it had come to pass that on the morning of the third day, Daniel had shed a great shit, and the lions were affronted. Most of all of them had thenceforth kept their distance from Daniel, but one of the lions took a liking to Daniel's left nut and began to munch upon it. "Oh, it tickles," cried Daniel. "What tickles?" asked the king. "Testicles," roared Daniel, thereby soaring another point for the common people. Upon hearing this, all the ladies in the courtyard took their tits and tittered. This is lots longer than what my kid and Doug learned from his brother, his half brother. Okay, well, anyway. Then the lion crouched as if to spring, but instead laid a big turd and assumed this amused the king, and ordered Daniel to come forth, but Daniel slipped on the lion's turd and came fifth, thus utterly losing the race. This angered Daniel so greatly that he picked up the lion's turd and with menacing accuracy hurled it at random, and random, being a crafty little beggar, ducked, and the turd hit the king full in the eye. Now this made the king exceedingly angry, whereupon he inquired, "Where's the queen?" "My lord, is on the royal crapper, and is she well suppled with paper?" "My lord, she is 40 reams of has 40 reams of finest linen." "It is good," said the king. "And where is the princess?" "Oh, she's upstairs in bed with Larry gets. Not that effing Greek again, cried Daniel. This amused the king, and he spake, "Oh, F the princess and another 40,000 loyal countries were trampled to death in the rush, for in those days the king's word was law, and ruled with an iron hand, and besides the princess was a commonly wench. This made the king exceedingly angry, but the queen only said, well, I'll be effed, and more in hope than in indignation. But nobody moved save the solitary, senile, synetical, quietly. Oh boy, I might be sorry I read this. Oh well. Masturbating in the corner into a silver teaspoon. And Daniel, who was taking her at her word, grabbed the queen by her butt cheeks and slipped her. Okay, I can't do any more. This is too bad. This is not like like 5 nights of the. This isn't the one. I mean, the one that Doug memorized isn't gross like that. Let's see if I can find it. I will have Doug recite it sometime. This is that. It's a shorter version. It seems sort of like it, but it's not. Knights of the Round. This is by Lindy Ford. Just a second. King Arthur's Knights of the Round Table. I'm gonna have Doug say it for you. Yeah, you get the gist of it, but it's like it's not as crude as what I just started reading there. That was um, maybe Doug's brother like shortened it up, or it's not that long either. So yeah, enough of that. It didn't have the F bombs in it, or no, it's like it the part where like they threw stuff at random and random ducked and that type of thing, but the rest of it with the queen on the throne and all that, none of that, and the F stuff and all that, none of that was in there. So yeah, that's just too much. Pardon me. I'm sorry. I could, you know, stop recording and redo this, but at least you know that's not who I am. Oh, that's yeah. Even reading the mild one would be too much. You know, it is funny, but it wasn't filthy like that. It was funny, you know. So yeah. Anyway, yeah. Enough of that. Anyway, the end of it is shit, cried the king, and there was a mighty movement across the land. See, now that's funny, you know. So, anyway, at least I think it is. And I'm not one that even, you know, a lot of people will laugh at like fart jokes or them like whoopee cushions or things. I'm not like that, but I don't know. And I didn't think my kid was going to memorize it. That's what freaked me out. He was 12. It's like, and like I say, it wasn't as gross as what, with all the filthy language in there. Nah, not like that. I was going to have Doug was saying it to me the other day. And I go, I'm going to have you do that on YouTube someday, and oh yeah. And I will someday. He will. And then you'll see it's funny. It's not gross like that. Yeah. I was reading an article this morning, and it was an older article. It was a year old. How they take coal ash, which is a toxin, and they bury it in 3 different states. Now, one of the states is Georgia, and it didn't name the other states, and it was leaking. That they put it into caverns in the ground that aren't lined or anything, and it's going into the groundwater. And it was talking about one of the women that lived around there, how she had to go to like a church that's like about 10 miles away from her to get her drinking water. And that just tells me that even the water in her home for washing or whatever is all full of these toxins. And they say that coal is a clean, um, like one of the cleaner fuels to use out on this planet. And I used to burn coal in one of the houses I had rented, and um, even when I was a kid, we lived on a dead end, and on the ground we had what they call red dog. It's the cinders from burning coal, the ash that is left. They made the streets out of it. It can be either gray or red, but this was what they called red dog. And geez, some things were sharp, but and if we were out playing tag, I'd run across them things barefoot, and then nobody could get me because they wouldn't follow me across it, because it's so sharp. Yeah, a little nuts. But a lot of the time, too, my brother was always about a foot taller than me, really strong, and I didn't want to get like pummeled. Sometimes playing tag wasn't fun, is what I'm trying to say, I guess. But yeah, looking back at that, they were putting toxins on our streets, plus spraying DDT to get rid of mosquitoes and bugs and that type of stuff. And yeah, they poisoned us. Plus the lead that was in the fuel and the exhaust. Lots of toxins in the city when you grow up, Well, we were on the edge of the city, but still, you know. My junior high was more in the city. My elementary school was sort of on the edge. By high school, we were out in the country. They thought by moving me out in the country, um, I don't know if that I'd be easier to control. But yeah, that didn't work out too good for him anyway. So, well, I'm going to get this uploaded. My apologies for the crassness of it all. I hope you found some humor in it, but yeah, it was pretty gross. So, have a really good night or day wherever you're at. Peace and love from Pine City, Minnesota, USA. And peace, war, them 2 words don't go together, just for some 60-year-old's information. You're very warped. So, all right. Peace, everybody. Talk to you tomorrow.